Hey folks, Father Sympathetic from CGVirus here. Today we're going to talk about the multipass rendering in Lux core render engine in Blender, and we're going to composite it in Blender to create the beauty pass from it. So let's see. Alright, so here is my setup here. Very basic. We have dielectric material here. Okay, and this is the metallic material here. Alright, and we have some these things. This is the glass material, and we also have an emission material here, and we have some lights, basic lights and HDR. Also we have some animation here, so we're going to use it for the position, the motion blur effect here, and also we're going to use some Z depth. So here it is. So let's get started and let's see how to enable these guys. Okay, first of all, what I want to do is basically we're going to create a transparent film. So let's go to the camera and go to the image pipeline and just use transparent film. That means it will be transparent here. Alright, and now let's go to AOV. We're going to uncheck denoiser here. I'm going to use a sample of 10 samples only, and other things are all fine here. Let's go to the AOV. So this is the AOV view there, and we're going to check alpha, depth, albedo, emission, diffuse, direct glossy, indirect diffuse, indirect specular, indirect glossy, position, and average shading normal. So these two will be used for albedo, and average shading will be used for denoising. And yeah, so that's it. So let's render F12 to render it. Alright, so here is our render, and these are the passes we have. So you can save it, or you can just go to the directly compositing. So let's save it first. Alright, so let's go to image and save as, and let's save it as OpenXR multi-layer channel here. And let's use RGBA. I'm going to use half float here. You can use full float, but it is not needed. And we're going to use zip here. So let's save it. Alright, so now let's go to compositing. There we go. Now let's select use nodes, and if you want to directly use it, you can use render layers. Okay, and you will get all of your layers here. Okay, so this is the direct pass, but we're going to use I'm just going to drag my untitled EXR here. That means you can use it with anything you want. So this is the EXR we have. So if these are the same. Okay, alright, so now let's talk about the math. The math is pretty much simple. So I want to create this beauty pass. So how can we do it? Is basically we are going for an add that is called mix node, and this is an additive process. So go for add, mix node add. Now we're going to go for direct diffuse and indirect diffuse. So this will be something like this. So let's shift D, and this one will be direct let me see, direct glossy and indirect glossy. So let's go to direct glossy and indirect glossy. Okay, and then press shift D again, and this time we're going for emission and indirect specular. Okay, so it will be something like this and this and this. Okay, so now we're going to just add it. So press shift D, add. We're going to just add these two, something like this, and then press shift D again, maybe here. Yeah, and let's connect this guy and this guy. Simple. There we go. So this is our beauty pass. So let's set an alpha as well. So let's set alpha. There we go. And on the alpha, you can use either this one or this one. So let's use this one. There we go. And let's create a root here. There we go. Simple. So now you can see this is the beauty pass and this is the render mix. So this is the formula. So if you want to snap it, here it is. Okay, here is the formula. Direct diffuse plus indirect diffuse, this one. Direct loss, indirect loss, this one. Emit plus indirect spec, this one. And then add both of them, and here we go. Now if you want to create a denoise pass, what you can do is basically, let's create a denoise here in this guy. Okay, here we're going to create a denoise, so you can do it like this, and then we will need albedo here, and we are going to need the normal, the shading normal, ever shading normal. There you go. Alright, so that is your denoised thing. Alright, so for now we are going to mute it because we are going to talk about other things now. So let's see. Let's talk about the Z focus, that is defocus, Z depth, and let's plug it in here. And for Z depth, what we need is basically a Z channel, so you will find it in here, depth. Okay, so let's plug it in here, depth. Alright, so we are in preview mode, and for this one we're going for something like a max blur of something like 20. Okay, and let's go for threshold. Let's see, let's go for 5, and Z scale, so let's use something like this to create the Z focus. There we go. Alright, so maybe the threshold is a bit high, so something like this, maybe something like this. Let me set it. Okay, seems like this threshold, if we go for something like this, it will work pretty nicely here, so let's do it like that. Okay, here we go. Let's turn off preview now, and it will be the final blur section. Alright, so that's how you can use your defocus. Let's do it right here. Alright, Z scale 5.2. If you want to increase it a little bit, you can do it like that. Yeah, let's use 6 here. That's it, up to you. So if you want to see it as denoise, press M unmute to do the denoise setup here, and it will be something like this. Alright, okay, here we go. Maybe the blur is a bit high, so let's use 10 for this, and here we go. Yeah, let's use 20. There you go. Just demo. Okay, and now other things. Let's turn off this guy, and we're going to use a vector blur here. So let's use vector blur. Vector blur. There we go. And we can use let's use this one, or you can use this one as well. It's up to you. So let's use the chain here. So let's image. Let's go here, and for this speed, what we need to do is basically we need a position. So this will be our position. Okay, you can see it here, position. Okay, so let's turn it on here. Okay, so shift, and let's create a G, shift, and let's create a G here. Okay, so for vector blur, let's sample it down like 4. We can use something like a blur of 10. There we go. And how does it look like? This is what it looks like. So yeah. So anyway, and let's use min 0, max 0, curve 0, or you can use Z depth, but up to you. Okay, if you want to use a Z depth, you can use it from Z here, the depth here. Okay. And now what we are seeing that it is very tiny and detailed. It's not too much motion blur is going on. So what we can do is basically we can create image node here. So not image, let's use mix node here, and this is essentially a vector. Okay, so what we can do is basically we can increase the value of it. First let's use multiply here, and then increase the value of it something like 3. Okay, now you will see that the motion blur is coming. So let's use sample of something like 16 to create a much more better blur here. Okay, and you can see this is your vector. So you can uncheck z depth here, and you can use it like that. Although after having denoiser, this defocus and vector blur is going obsolete in the industry. So we can use real blur and real defocus. These are fake defocus and fake vector blur. Maybe it will not be very much usable at the end of the day. So yeah, anyway, so that's it. So here is another tip, that if you have vector blur, you will see that alpha is going all over the places, right? So what you can do is basically the defocus should be the final alpha of your edges, right? So what you can do is this should be the final edge of our alpha. So what we can do is basically we can create a separate RGB here, RGBA, and we can create we can use this alpha as our set alpha. So we are going to create a set alpha here. Okay, and let's use this alpha as our alpha. Okay, and you can see that everything will, yeah, you can see that we have the motion blur, we have the defocus, and we have the alpha as well. So that's how you can set your stuff. Okay, so let me show you the full setup here so that you can create it by your own. There we go. Okay, let's take the snap. Alright, so that's it. I'm Father Sampati from Virus, and we're going to see you next time. Bye bye.